Go ahead, baby.
Awesome. Hi, this is Raven with Twisted Sisters Mojo, and we are continuing our series on Tarot Talk. Now, want to mention, if it hasn't been mentioned already, that when we are reading the tarot, the major arcana usually has kind of a specific aim to it. It's the Fool's journey from the beginning to enlightenment and then back again to the Fool. And so these cards have kind of specific meanings. They're archetypes, if you will. But you have to remember that maybe our meanings we might interpret them a little bit different. We have seen people online, not with us at all, really, but we've seen people on other sites get really nasty with people about their interpretations, and you can't interpret it that way, and you're wrong, and you're stupid. And, I'm here to say that there is no specific right nor wrong way to interpret these cards. It's going to depend on what's with them. It's going to depend on where they're laying. It's going to depend on what Spirit tells you. So even though this card might have a kind of a specific archetypal meaning, meaning, we might not agree with the meaning that we're seeing in the spread, and we may say something else. So I might say something that you don't agree with, and that's okay. You have to take these cards and make them your own. Now, today I am doing card 4 through 8, the Emperor through Strength. Now, the Emperor himself is a very strong card. He's usually an older man sitting on a throne, and in most decks you're going to see he has rams with him. Rams are a sign. Okay. Rams are a sign of sexual strength and power. Well, not just sexual, but strength and power in and of themselves. And you'll usually see him with a purple robe, and maybe he's got a laurel wreath around him, which represents his authority. He is the ultimate father figure, the stern father figure, where the Empress is the mother, the archetypical mother. He is everything to do with the father. He is the strong sexual being. Now in this one, he's got the 2 ravens around him, and I think they're really trying to go for the Odin thing in this deck, but he has both his eyes, and we all know Odin is a one-eyed wanderer. The ravens on either side of him are called Hugin and Munin, and they represent thought and memory. They go out and get information and bring them back to the Emperor, and he rules from his throne. You'll usually see jagged mountains behind him, and sometimes you'll see his feet on the world, which is his control of the situation. He is a very fiery elemental card, but he also has a few earthy qualities to him as well. Where he has the strength and the power, he also has the fertility as well. And fertility, it can be fiery, but it's also very, very earthy. So the Emperor represents strength, power, the father, strong sexual male energy, and ruling, and someone who gets information and knows. He is the wise one that we seek for counsel, the father. Now, the next card we have is the Hierophant. Never been a big fan of this card, and I think Deja and I have a little bit of different meanings for this particular card in general. Now, for me, a lot of times when I get this card, it represents things about religion that I don't care for. Not spirituality per se, but religion. But it can also have good meanings as well. It's generally a man in a pope outfit or a cardinal outfit, and he usually has keys. He always has his fingers up. He's between 2 pillars, and they're both gray. And whereas you will see the priest and high priestess between black and white pillars representing their duality and their equality in that duality, you will see the Hierophant usually with gray pillars, which spirituality, religion, there's always shades of gray in that. For us, there's no definite specific this and this. He can be a teacher. He can have good qualities in that. He can be the leader of a spiritual group, a coven, if you will. But he can also represent a very narcissistic person that puts himself above other people. He can represent a boss figure, somebody who you work with that's above you. Sometimes somebody who thinks they're above you that's really not. Depending on what it's with, it can represent spiritual growth, but it can also represent the dogma that can come with religion. So he's a very, very interesting card in that. I would say he, in the elemental form, he can be a couple things. He can be air because he can be a teacher, but he can also be, well, now see, in my elemental system, I have 6: earth, air, fire, water, light, and dark. And he is definitely shades of gray when it comes to that. But as the teacher, he would be more of an airy thing, a communication issue. So I would put him as air. What about you, Deja? Where do you see him?
I would, because of the intellectual aspect, I would definitely tag him as air. Maybe with a little bit of fire underneath.
Yeah, that's not bad. Okay, from the Hierophant, the Fool meets the Lovers. Now here we have a man and a woman nestled together. They are usually, one's got the sun, one's got the moon. That represents the yin and the yang. Now in this particular deck, there's a tree that's been fused together. It's an apple tree for knowledge and an oak tree for strength and wisdom. They represent, this is a very earthy card, but it's love as well, so it can be water. And if you put the meaning behind the Lovers, the strong relationship type, you can definitely use a little fire with that. But when I get this to me represents a relationship that is forming or already formed. And it doesn't have to be lovers. It can be a work relationship, any kind of a relationship where you have 2 people working together, a business venture, going into business with someone, but it can also just be a regular relationship card. Generally, it's very positive in the upright position. In the reverse position, it can be a business deal that's going south, somebody you can't trust, or a relationship that's reached pretty much its end that's not going to go anywhere. Now, from the Lovers, we go to the Chariot. And I always like the Chariot. This is a good card, especially for people in the military. This is a military type figure, but he's a heroic figure. It's usually a guy in a chariot with either a sphinx, or mine's got unicorns. I've seen them with horses. One's black, one's white, and they're kind of going in different directions. But he's managing to get them to go forward, even though things are pulling him in different directions. He manages to get where he needs to go. And he's always victorious in that. So this can be a situation that's got you just pulling you in different directions, but you're managing to get through it. And you're getting through it pretty well. Generally in the reverse position, it can represent depression and people that just aren't good with dealing with a lot of situations at one time. But this guy also usually has the sun on him. And you'll see a lot of the male figures in my particular deck that will have a sun sign on them somewhere, whether it's the sun wheel or the sun itself. And that is his active strength and power. This is an airy card, but it's also fiery for perseverance and action. But it can be somebody that's very interested in the arts as well, and they're juggling their art career with their mundane career. Now, the final card that I'm doing today is the Strength card. Strength card is pretty straightforward when it comes to that. As a general rule, I mean, she's got her hand under the lion's mouth in this case, but a lot of times it's a young woman with her hand in the lion's mouth. And that represents, this is a fiery card. It represents bravery through opposition, facing your fears, dealing with them, getting power over them, mastering what you need to do. And it represents just strength as well, being a strong-willed person that is capable of handling their business and dealing with opposition, or, as I said before, dealing with their fears and their phobias. For me, I've got a weird phobia where I can't stand wet clothes or even canoes with water in them make me sick. So I took a diving class to try to get over that. I failed miserably because I found a sunken cannon and that was it. I've never dived again. But, you know, I really blew it on that one. But I tried to use my inner strength to force myself to get over this phobia. And that's really what the strength card is about. Just soldiering through and doing what you need to do, even though it's scary for you. This has been Raven with Twisted Sisters Mojo, and we really are enjoying doing these tarot talk section for you. We hope you enjoy it as well. Please hit that like and subscribe button. We really appreciate it when you do, and I look forward to seeing you again.